will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
This is America's Voice Live.
And welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber.
The pulse of the people.
We need somebody that's going to hear the people's voice.
The truth the mainstream won't touch.
This guy is, by definition, a globalist.
And the stories that matter.
Rav's own Ben Berquam.
Right up over this hill, we got an armed cartel. I see him.
Live.
Breaking news right now here on Real America's Voice.
Unfiltered.
These people are domestic terrorists.
And unapologetic.
We're here to take a stand for God and country. Let's feel good, doesn't it?
America's Voice Live starts now.
Welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber. Today is Tuesday, the 27th of January, the year of our Lord 2026. Let's get to today's top stories. As always, thank you for joining me here on Real America's Voice. We appreciate seeing you today. On Monday, President Trump announced he is dispatching border czar Tom Homan to Minnesota to oversee ICE operations in Minneapolis and St. Paul amid violent anti-ICE protests that have led to the deaths of 2 individuals, as well as another CBP-involved shooting today in Arizona. We'll have more on that coming up. Also, President Trump is scheduled to speak in Iowa today ahead of the 2026 midterm set for later this year. I'll bring on RAV correspondent David Zier. He's on the ground in Iowa to give us the latest. If the president comes out, we will go to that as well. And then later, I'll discuss the obvious attack on faith by the left and Don Lemon when they stormed a church in Minneapolis to interrupt church services, then defended their actions, calling it a constitutional right, which it is not. All of that coming up today, including live coverage of President Trump's visit to Clive, Iowa. But first, I want to start in Minneapolis again. Minneapolis is the left's favorite noise machine, a city being used as a stage to once again distract from the successes of the Trump administration before a big election. The Trump administration is getting criminals off our streets. President Trump campaigned on this. It was one of his biggest promises to the American people. It's what over half the country voted for. 77 million people said yes to that. And those of us who aren't too busy protesting ICE are seeing the results. Homicide rates dropped to the lowest that they have been in 125 years, registering the largest single drop in a year ever recorded. For the first time ever last year, all seven categories of violent crime fell beneath pre-pandemic levels. And what headline does the New York Times run? Quote, "What's behind the staggering drop in the murder rate? No one knows for sure." They don't? But these statistics aren't dominating the headlines. They're getting drowned out on purpose by the deaths of protesters who are being used in a war against Trump. Alex Preddy being the latest, as we discussed here yesterday. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt shared the president's feelings with the press, which match my own. I don't want to see anyone, including President and people like Renee Good, getting killed, or Alex Preddy for that matter. But the answer to this madness is not to abolish or defund ICE, as Democrats are calling for loudly, which we'll get to. This isn't a problem created by Trump or his administration or by ICE or DHS. This is a problem created by leftists and anarchists, and they're the ones sustaining it. Governor Tim Walz has goaded his state's residents into causing good trouble for ICE agents. Let's just take a live look as President Trump comes down the steps of Air Force One there in Iowa. We'll keep that with that, and we'll stay with this story. Alex Preddy's death is a result of that, a result of these sanctuary city policies and state leaders who are using their own citizens as pawns in a fight for more power and to hide the massive fraud, stealing billions in taxpayer dollars. Let's take a look at these statistics. There are 9 counties, that account for 2/3 of the violent confrontations with ICE in America. Just 9 out of over 3,000. A violent confrontation in these 9 counties was 500 times more likely than any of these other 3,134 counties. Let that sink in. 590 times more likely. In all 9 counties, as you can guess, are sanctuary jurisdictions run by Democrat politicians that resist immigration law enforcement. Fact. Minneapolis is a breeding ground for these violent confrontations, all thanks to some very dishonest and incendiary messaging from leaders and from very well organized and very well financed resistance groups like ICE Watch. Not only that, they've got signal groups all over the internet now, complete with vetting processes for new members and time deletions and rotations to bury the evidence. Members of these chats are being given dedicated roles, chasing cars, checking license plates, logging vehicle data. And the list goes on. It's all to impede law enforcement from taking criminals off our streets on a daily basis. And that's what Alex Preddy got caught up in. He was part of his neighborhood's ICE watch with the express purpose of impeding law enforcement, which, in case you didn't know, is a crime. And it becomes an even more serious crime if you're armed while doing it. Alex Preddy was licensed to carry a concealed firearm. Good for him. But he would have learned in his concealed carry class that it's never legal to commit a crime while armed. It's actually just much more illegal and, as you can see, much more dangerous. I see people on the internet trying to make a point that this is what the Second Amendment is for, fighting tyranny. But listen up. Blocking or interfering law enforcement and the enforcement of existing federal laws isn't resisting tyranny. It's opposing laws that were enacted through the democratic process by Congress and under the guise of the Constitution. And it's also what a president campaigned on upholding the law. Donald Trump explicitly ran on a platform of strictly enforcing immigration statutes, including deportations. The fact that certain local communities or groups like some in Minneapolis don't like it and disagree with those policies or didn't support the candidate who promised to deliver on those laws doesn't make them any less valid or binding nationwide. They are. Federal laws still apply everywhere, believe it or not, and obstructing their enforcement isn't heroic. It's actually going against the express will of the American people, and it's obvious hypocrisy. Because during Barack Obama's presidency, his administration carried out millions of deportations through ICE. He was even called the deporter-in-chief from immigrant advocacy groups, something that he didn't even campaign on. But Minneapolis didn't catch on fire those years. Now did it? So why now? Well, in part because of the Orange Man Bad cult. But I suspect that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey are enjoying all the distraction from the fraud they have enabled over many years. Here's DHA Secretary Kristi Noem saying exactly that.
These are not just agitators anymore, they're violent protests. In fact, the state and the city of Minneapolis abandoned this area in downtown Minneapolis because they couldn't control the situation by the amount of people that have come in just trying to disrupt and impede law enforcement operations. And, you know, frankly, this didn't turn violent until we uncovered the fraud in Minneapolis. We were there. ICE and CBP have been there and operating for years in Minneapolis. We saw the violence start to happen when the fraud became uncovered of the billions of dollars that was stolen from American taxpayers under the leadership of Governor Walz and Mayor Frey.
Now, some would argue it's turned violent because Walz and Frey have given these agitators the green light, a clear go-ahead, by instructing local law enforcement to refuse ICE any help or any support on the streets. Vice President J.D. Vance wrote on Twitter that, quote, a couple of off-duty ICE and CBP officers were going to dinner in Minneapolis. They were doxxed, their location revealed, and the restaurant was then mobbed. The officers were locked in the restaurant, and local police refused to respond to their pleas for help, as they've been directed by local authorities. It's policy in Minneapolis. Vance hits the nail on the head when he continues, quote, this is just a taste of what's happening in Minneapolis because state and local officials refuse to cooperate with immigration enforcement. They have created the chaos so they can have moments like yesterday where someone tragically dies and politicians get to grandstand about the evils of enforcing the border. As Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has his own story about Minnesota's willful negligence. Listen to this.
It's a tragedy when anyone dies, but I can tell you the situation on the ground there is being stirred up by Governor Walz. I was out there 2 weeks ago. Governor Walz declined to provide a security detail for me to go into the Minnesota Capitol with the state police. So he is fomenting chaos because there is substantial waste, fraud, and abuse. My job as Treasury Secretary is to investigate that. And I think that this chaos that's going out there, and again, I am sorry that this gentleman is dead, but he did bring a 9mm semi-automatic weapon with 2 cartridges to what was supposed to be a peaceful protest. I think that there are a lot of paid agitators who are ginning things up, and the governor has not done a good job at tamping this down.
Like I said, this isn't a problem created by ICE or the Trump administration because ICE is currently operating all over the country. not just in Minneapolis. People want to point fingers at the ICE agents, but we're not seeing altercations like this in red states or many blue states either. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche points that out here.
I'm very confused about why the conversation is about what you're talking about instead of focusing on what really matters, which is why in one city, in one place do we have these problems. We deport 10 times the number of illegal aliens out of Texas than we do out of Minneapolis. Why do we hear nothing out of Texas about any of the same problems that we have in Minneapolis? I'll tell you why. Because in Texas, we have the cooperation and support of local law enforcement so that we can do these operations safely, keeping U.S. citizens and others protected and safe. That is not what we have in Minneapolis. And the fact that it's the administration that's being blamed for the utter failure of leadership in Minneapolis is not right. It's not appropriate.
Are you saying those officers?
It is literally in everyone's interests, except the criminals, for all politicians, Democrats, Republicans, independents alike, to condemn what's happening in Minneapolis, to be honest about the good work that ICE and DHS do every day. But instead, Democrats are committing to a very familiar talking point, and that is defund the police. The worst idea they've ever had. They're going back to it because what else do they have? Defund law enforcement. Listen to this.
My last question, will it be worth it if Senate Democrats vote down the funding of ICE and therefore create a partial government shutdown as soon as the end of this week?
Yes. The House Democrats, we overwhelmingly voted for that. Last week, the Senate Democrats should absolutely follow us because we need to make a powerful nationwide statement that the current situation is intolerable.
Well, I'm not giving ICE or Border Patrol another dime, given how these agencies are operating.
I think that we should not be giving a dime more to ICE or CBP unless we have significant guardrails and accountability.
There has to be dramatic change. I don't foresee this administration doing that at this moment. So I'm saying I won't provide any funding.
Well, that's right. After causing the longest, most worthless government shutdown in American history just a few weeks ago, Democrats are willing to do it again to grandstand against funding for law enforcement. Democrats had previously tried to distance themselves from the defund the police narrative because they know it's deeply unpopular with American voters. But with Minneapolis dominating the airwaves, Democrats are now backing defund ICE. It's the same thing all over again, and it's just as ridiculous now as it was then. They're going to trigger another government shutdown over something that harms the American people. Unbelievable. If Trump were to hit the brakes on ICE operations in Minneapolis, the left would treat it as a massive win. And it wouldn't stop there. That would send a message nationwide that immigration enforcement can be bullied into submission. Once they see that protests and chaos can shut down ICE in one city, they'll try it everywhere. At that point, it's not the law or voters calling the shots, it's the mob rules. The mob deciding which rules matter and which ones do not, and which ones they'll ignore. And this is a mob I won't be listening to. I won't be taking a lesson on empathy and morality from a group of people who cheered when my friend Charlie Kirk was shot and murdered in front of thousands of people in Utah last year. And frankly, neither should you. Let me say clearly, I stand with law enforcement. That doesn't mean they're always right. It doesn't. But I stand with law enforcement because they do the best they can every single day. Coming up after the break, President Trump is sending border czar Tom Homan to take charge of Minneapolis amid the contentious escalation of anti-ICE protesters and fraud allegations. I'll bring on a former DHS advisor to discuss that next right here on America's Voice Live.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today. Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rev has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rev. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are Rev.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Hey, this is SEAL Team from Missouri. I like Real America's Voice because it's real news for real people, and it's real good.
Hi, this is Becky from the Florida Panhandle, and I love watching Real America's Voice for the programming, the hosts, and my Rad Chat family.
All right, welcome back to the program. Keeping an eye on President Trump. He is in Clive, Iowa. We'll let you know when he takes the stage, and we will go there as soon as he does. It was announced earlier today that Tom Homan has arrived in Minneapolis and spoken with Governor Tim Walz. He's there to oversee ICE operations and in Minneapolis and St. Paul. The announcement follows two fatal clashes in the city this month as federal agents carried out long overdue immigration enforcement there. Earlier in January, protester Renee Good was killed after nearly running over an ICE agent with her car. And this past weekend, nurse Alex Preddy died after bringing a gun to what the left calls a peaceful protest and interfering with law enforcement operations and struggling with police. The incidents have intensified national debate as President Trump presses ahead with his plan to deport millions of illegals from this country, especially the worst of the worst. The president also pointed to the massive multi-billion-dollar welfare fraud scheme that's been uncovered in the state of Minnesota. Arguing it has fueled organized demonstrations, he added that the Justice Department and Congress are investigating Representative Ilhan Omar as part of the broader problem and part of the broader probe. Joining to discuss this, former DHS advisor and CEO of Sentinel, Charles Marino. Charles, thank you for joining me back on the program. All right, I understand that Homan and Walz have had a conversation. They've agreed to further dialogue. Look, as was pointed out at the top of the show here, this isn't happening in Texas or Florida or in Michigan where I live, because local law enforcement is working with federal agents to get the worst of the worst out. It's different in Minnesota. The policemen told to stand down clearly because they walk away from federal agents. They do nothing to cordon off an area and make it safe to target an individual who could be dangerous in this country. Why is Minneapolis so resistant to doing what's clearly right, and that is protect the federal officers, let them get the people that have been charged with murder or rape or drunk driving or human trafficking or selling drugs? Why not help these folks get these illegals that are dangerous to our communities out of there?
Well, that's right. And this is why I don't hold out much hope regarding these negotiations that are currently going on, because Governor Walz, Mayor Fry, Attorney General Ellison are all disingenuous. They are fully baked in to being a sanctuary state and Minneapolis being a sanctuary city. If you look at what the Trump administration has always asked from the start of all cities and states in the country, is allow us into the jails to more quickly identify the public safety threats that are in the country illegally, allow your state and local law enforcement departments to work collaboratively with us, both on operations and in sharing intelligence, and honor the detainers, the immigration detainers, so that we can quickly deport these public safety threats. Sanctuary cities across the board have said no. The difference in Minneapolis is this, and there are currently ICE operations underway, by the way, in other sanctuary cities across the country. The difference with Minneapolis is no other city or state is inciting and obstructing at the level of the governor in any other state. Tim Walz is doing that. Mayor Fry is doing that. Attorney General Ellison is responsible for that. That's why we have the environment we have on the ground. And they've done it on purpose. Why? Because they want to make this job as hard and as unsafe as possible for ICE and CBP agents. And they also want to make it as publicly messy as it can be so they can do exactly what they're doing when ICE and CBP agents need to use force.
It's a distraction for sure. If local law enforcement cordoned off the area and kept people back, Alex Preddy would still be alive. Nicole Good would still be alive, I believe. Terrible situation for both of those people. But they inserted themselves into a volatile situation involving law enforcement. In fact, I've just learned from Just the News that Alex Preddy had a broken rib from an incident a week earlier with federal agents. It wasn't his first time getting involved with police and having a violent situation. It's terrible that it ended the way it did. But I can assure you, if you allow the police to do the job, you want to stand on the corner and yell and use your bullhorn and wave your signs, that's fine. And you can bring a sidearm. That's also legal. But when you go mix it up with the police, it becomes a very dangerous and fluid situation. I don't know what the investigation is going to show here. It's a terrible outcome. Terrible for the officer that shot, terrible for Mr. Preddy. But if you allow people to continue to come in and harass and use vehicles and put their hands on police, it's going to get worse before it gets better, Charles.
Yeah, and it can. And look, my entire adult life, I've gone through use of force training. I have carried a firearm in my career. I continue to do so every day today. And I know there's a lot of people talking about use of force right now on all the TV shows, and 3/4 of them don't know what they're talking about. The facts are this. As a concealed weapons permit holder, you have got to exercise reasonable judgment. And part of that reasonable judgment is that you are not going to be in a conflict with law enforcement and violating the law. That creates the messy situations that the governor wants to see play out. They know that their rhetoric, Steve, is falling on a wide variety of different personalities, different people that are going to interpret their words a million different ways. And that's what they're counting on. They're counting on somebody to get behind the wheel of a car and decide not to listen to law enforcement and try and run them over. And it also includes somebody showing up to conduct disruptive actions while armed. And none of these have good outcomes, by the way.
Yeah. My understanding is in the state of Minnesota, same as Michigan, you have to carry a concealed carry permit and identification on you if you're carrying a firearm. Reporting from Minneapolis says that Mr. Preddy had neither of those things, so he was not carrying lawfully. That was to the side. It's still a terrible situation, a terrible outcome. The look could have been avoided if he had listened to his own parents who said, please, don't go get engaged with the police at these protests.
Right.
He did it. Bad outcome. I don't know if it's going to be deemed a good shoot or a bad shoot. A lot of videos, a lot of questions. Let the investigation play out. But it could have been avoided. Last word to you.
I think everything that we're seeing could have been avoided. You gave an example of it. Look, let ICE into the jails and you won't have 2,000 ICE agents all over the streets, including CBP agents. I mean, this is why the Trump administration has made the requests they've made from the very start of their immigration enforcement operations. There's a way to lower the temperature here, and it's all on Governor Walz, but it will require him to step away from the sanctuary policies of his state. And I do not see him doing that. So who's going to blink first here from the White House and the Minnesota administration of Governor Walz? And who's going to blink the biggest? That's still yet to come.
We'll find out, Charles. We're going to find out. Greatly appreciate you being here. Thank you. Now, coming up after the break, President Trump set to speak in Iowa at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Real America's Voice correspondent David Zier will join me from Iowa, Clive, Iowa, with the latest ahead of the president's remarks. We'll be right back.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
California wildfire ripping apart Los Angeles County.
This is ridiculous. This is death by 1,000 paper cuts by Democrat policies.
That is President Trump's motorcade.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Trump has returned triumphant.
We hope they come out tonight.
We prayed together and we cried for 4 years.
Such an amazing feeling.
Flight 5342 colliding with a Black Hawk helicopter. 67 lives lost.
Liberation Day was extraordinary.
We never charged anybody anything, but now we're going to charge.
I think it's a great day here at the White House.
They've sold out our country, and they don't care why they're here.
We're now averaging 2,000 deportations a day.
Finally, a president steps up and does a presidential thing.
The strikes were a spectacular success.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
I'm a J6er, and I spent 3 months in jail and about a year in prison.
I spent 4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been smeared and defamed by the media, persecuted by the government, and treated like terrorists.
In reality, J6ers are patriotic men and women, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers from all walks of life.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
And we need your help.
For just $10 or more, you're helping these patriots get mental, physical, and spiritual help.
Please scan the QR code or go to j6support.com to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for being a patriot. Thank you for standing in the gap.
All right, Real America's Voice correspondent David Zier on the ground in Clive, Iowa. President Trump scheduled to speak at about 4 o'clock Eastern time, but he's got this habit of running a bit late, it seems. He'll be kicking off the GOP's midterm push as the White House pivots to the battle for Congress in November. RAV correspondent and host of Breaking Point, David Zier, joining me now live for the latest. David, good afternoon. I hear it's chilly there. It's chilly across the country, but Donald Trump will warm the House up. But you just told me you think he might be a few minutes late. What's the feeling there?
Yeah. Well, people are energetic. You know, he won here by 13, so it's the crowd, the caucus captains. You know, Trump did so well in the Iowa caucus. He won every county in Iowa except for one, and that one he only lost by a few votes. So we got a lot of precinct captains, a lot of people, devout Trump followers. There's under 1,000 people here. It's a little more intimate crowd. Trump is on his way here, but stopping by the Machine Shed, the successful breakfast and lunch chain, and he's here to address the economy here, but also to support these races here, where both Miller Meeks, just east of here in the 1st district, and this district, the 3rd district, Zach Nunn, eked out victories, and they're vulnerable, and they're leaning red, but it's a toss-up in each district. And this could be, disaster for the House, just losing these 2 seats, because it only leaves 2 seats nationwide, to lose after that, and they lose control of the House. And I just want to add Zach Nunn's message today: campus housing affordability, rural housing, fixing up stuff through the USDA, farms for seniors, houses, repairs, and Miller Meeks, Congressman Marionette Miller Meeks, all about energy, getting that E15 approved for the corn growers in Iowa and the ethanol producers. She's working on Congress to get that funded, which will be 10 to 30 cents lower at the pump if they're successful for any car made after 2021. You can't use it in small machinery, but yeah, so a lot going on here today.
Yeah, Iowa 3, Miller Meeks seat, one of the closest, one of the top 10 races in the country, from what I understand. She won by a very slight margin twice in a row now. But, I mean, it is a tight district. And so it's going to be one of those bellwether districts. It's important for her to pull this one out because it'll be indicative of how the rest of the country goes, right?
Yes, and the dynamic here is that these districts, Trump won big, but the GOP House members that didn't win by large majorities, putting them into play. And the problem is, how do you get voters out for the midterms if Trump is not on the ballot here? So he's going to visit these districts nationwide just about every week going forward up until the midterms, and some other dynamics in play. The Dems are getting unified here. 2 of the candidates in the primary challenging, for the Democratic nomination have dropped out because they want a unified ticket so they don't get messy primaries before the elections. The primary is only 6 months away here. But also, remember, open seat for governor. Kim Reynolds not running again. Congressman Randy Feenstra is going to be running for that. And then we got Ashley Hinson, another congresswoman here, will run for the Senate as a Republican to fill Joni Ernst's seat. But that southeastern district, the first for Miller Meeks, it's pretty liberal down there, or more moderate than, say, the northwest part of the state, which has very conservative voting. So these races are one to watch. And then people on the far right, in the MAGA crowd, some aren't crazy about Zach Nunn. Others think he's doing an effective job. But his housing affordability plan, I think, has a lot of credibility to it. Offering even Section 8 vouchers for college students for campus housing. I guess we'd rather the money go there than to illegals.
Fair point, David. Thank you very much. We're currently watching live pictures of the president there at that diner you mentioned, meeting and greeting and seeing some of the locals well received, it seems. David Zier, thank you. We'll keep you on speed dial for the rest of the day, see if the president shows up at the podium. Right now, he's meeting his constituents in Iowa, right outside of Clive, Iowa. There you go, live scene.
Camera's ready. How we doing, everyone? The country is doing well. We are turned 18 trillion being invested. We're doing great.
I've been 2 years. We've been with you from the beginning.
Oh, you really don't want to. Thank you. Thank you. Great to have you. Good morning.
working the crowd, as it were. This is the kickoff for the 2026 midterms in earnest, as you can see here. This is Donald Trump in his element. He enjoys this. He enjoys talking to the crowd and talking to people. We'll listen in again.
They gave us the phony polls. We were up 18 and they said we were down 4. We ended up winning. And we sued them. We got the no tax on tip. No tax on no more taxes. You know who gave me that idea? Waitress. The waitress said, sir, we should not pay tax on tip. I said, guess what? You got it. Come on, let's have a picture. Come on.
Get the farm team in here.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you for that.
You know this handsome gentleman.
I do indeed. Right. The first person in the whole country that endorsed you. That's right. I call him the Marlboro man. I shouldn't say that. He's a Marlboro man. You doing okay? He was the first one. The whole country. He said, if that guy runs, I didn't even announce. He endorsed me before I announced. That's even better. You gonna be over there?
Oh yeah.
Got the picture on the tractor off road when he drove in. Oh yeah, really? Yeah, right. Good tractor. Oh, good.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Brad. Anybody next to this guy has to like come. Because he was Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Look who we have.
Hi, that's right.
A little press. A little press. I wish they were more honest, but that's okay. How are you? Nice to see you. I love this. Look at that hat. I love that. Look at it. Full beautiful. Look at that.
Praying for you, sir.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. See you later. Hello, everybody.
Hello. How are you?
So what do you think? Should I talk to them for a little while? It's always exciting. You all doing all right? You going over to the speech? You going over to the speech? Good. We're going to have a good time. Nice group of people. We'll do whatever's appropriate. You know, we secured the border. Remember that. We secured the border. We did things that nobody thought was possible. We had 25 million people come through the border. When I took over, it was a mess. You take a look at what we did in terms of pricing. So you had gasoline at $4.50. Now it's at $1.99 in many places, a gallon. $1.99.
$1.89 in Iowa, sir.
That's right. And what are you there?
$1.89.
$1.89. He's a very honorable man. He doesn't make up stories. $1.89. When I took over, you were $4.50, $3.50, $5 all over the place. Now we have prices coming way, way down. But remember, we secured the border. Crime is down all over the country. We just had a crime report coming out from, I think, one of the networks, which they hate to hear this, but crime is the lowest number ever recorded. Yeah. So, we talk about Minnesota, but in Minnesota, you probably read, their crime is way down. You know why? Because we took out thousands of criminals out of Minnesota, and that's why it's good. So anyway, but we have Tom Homan is over there. We all love Tom.
Yeah. Tom's
and he met with the governor, met with the mayor. He's going to meet with the mayor, I guess, and it's going very well. But remember this, even Minnesota, their crime is down. And you know why it's down? Because of what we did. We took out thousands of criminals, career criminals, bad criminals, people that came in from Venezuela. By the way, how did we do in Venezuela? Not bad, right? But people that came in Venice from, think of it, people that came in from countries all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from all over South America, all over Latin America, all over Africa. They came from everywhere. And they came out of prisons in many cases. They came out of mental institutions in many cases. And we're getting them out, and we got a lot of them out. But we have now the safest country we've ever had. Washington, D.C. went from being a crime-ridden place to a place that has virtually no crime in a period of a couple of months. So we're very proud of what we've been able to do. And this is a state that's been with me all 3 times, right?
Since the very beginning, boss. The very beginning.
I'd like to give it another one, too, if you want.
Mr. President, why did you decide coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to do a lot of traveling. I think so. I mean, I like traveling to places. I love this place. This was the beginning of my politics, right?
That's right.
And it treated me well right from the beginning.
Mr. President, farmers.
Do you feel that the
Say what?
Do you feel that the
Message for farmers. Mr. President, why did you decide to shake up your leadership team in Minnesota and send Tom?
I do that all the time. I shake up teams. Everybody here. These are a lot of owners of farms and places. And you shake up your team. If they can't do the crops fast enough, they go. Look, we have an incredible team. We did something that nobody said was possible. We didn't go back to Congress and ask for legislation. We closed the border. And in the last 8 months, they have, and this is actually hard to believe, nobody crossed the border, right? Nobody. They say nobody. I don't even know if that's possible. But, it's Democrats that do the report. It's a very liberal group that does that report. It's a very important report. And for 9 months, I guess 8 months, 9 months, we have nobody coming into our country unless they come in legally. We want them to come in legally. You need people to work for you. But we did something that I would say people thought that was absolutely impossible, and we were able to do it. So we're very honored by what's happened to our country. In addition, we have $18 trillion coming in, building plants, building auto factories, building AI factories. Like no other country in the world has done what we've done in the last year. And I think it's the most successful first-term president. There's never been a year like this in the history of the country. And he's been with me from the beginning, this guy. Make sure, take good care of him. He's been with me. So I'm going around. And I'm going around because hopefully we win the midterms. And it's very scary because it's 2 out of 50 years or something like that.
Right.
For some reason, when a president wins, Republican or Democrat, even if they're a good president, and hopefully I'm a great president, based on the first year I'm a great president. And we had a great first term, too. People don't know, we rebuilt our military. We had phenomenal financial numbers. But I think this term's blowing away really every term. But traditionally, when a president gets elected, out of, I think, 50 years, they've had 2 that won. I don't understand it.
You're going to be the next.
They've had 2, so we have to, and one was by unusual circumstance. So there's something psychological. If you win the president, whether you're Republican or Democrat, with that being said, the polls look very good. Everything looks very good. And you have great congressmen here, congressmen and women here. And we love Iowa. We love Iowa. And I think didn't I just give the farmers $12 billion, right?
$66 billion in total.
Well, I gave total 66.
That's right.
But just recently we gave the farmers $12 billion because they were treated unfairly by foreign countries. I said, how much? They said $12 billion. I said, they got it. You know where I got it? Tariffs. I got it from the tariffs. Without the tariffs. And again, most of these, we right now have more factories and plants being built in our country than we've ever had before. That came in because they're coming because they don't want to pay the tariffs. So I said, if you build here, you don't have to pay tariffs. So it's great.
Mr. President, you talked a lot about... Mr. President, with the current value of the dollar, do you think it's declined too much?
No, I think it's great. I mean, the value of the dollar, look at the business we're doing. No, dollar's doing great. It's very interesting. If you look at China and Japan, I used to fight like hell with them because they always wanted to devalue their yen. You know that? The yen and the yuan. And they'd always want to devalue it. They devalue. And I said, not fair that you devalue because it's hard to compete when they devalue. but they always fought. No, our dollar's very good.
You talked a lot about Minnesota, Mr. President. Some of your own administration officials have labeled Alex Preddy.
By the way, this is ABC fake news, this one. She hasn't asked me a good question in years. I think a nice woman, but I don't really like her too much. Go ahead. What'd you say? I'd say ABC's about as bad as they get.
Mr. President, would you like to see the dollar's value decline more? Would that be
No, I'd want it to be just seek its own level, which is the fair thing to do. You could have it, I could have it go up or go down like a yo-yo. I'll give you an example. Unemployment. I could create the greatest unemployment numbers or employment numbers ever. All I have to do is hire 3 million people and put them into the federal government, and you have 10 people, for one job, right?
That's right.
And what we've done is we've cut the federal employees, and they've gone to the private sector. But if I wanted, I could hire 1 million people tomorrow, put them in the federal government, and she'd be writing a story. Unbelievable employment. Unbelievable
Do you
employment.
agree with the assessment?
But we have great unemployment numbers.
Yeah.
I think they're great. Is there one number that's bad? Can you tell? Is there one number that's bad? There's not one.
Do you agree with the assessment from some of your own officials that Alex Preddy is a domestic terrorist or an assassin?
Well, I haven't heard that, but certainly he shouldn't have been carrying a gun. But hey, look, bottom line, everybody in this room, we view that as a very unfortunate incident, okay?
Right.
Everyone, unless you're a stupid person, very, very unfortunate incident. I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff. And despite that, I say that's a very unfortunate.
You said that you are the de facto president of Venezuela. I don't know, maybe you were joking when you said that. Is the U.S. a de facto member of OPEC right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, we are a very strong presence in Venezuela. We're going to get a lot of money for Venezuela. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world, with the exception, I think, of our country.
Yep.
And it's bigger than Saudi Arabia. And we had a very strong moment with Venezuela a couple of weeks ago. And we are working beautifully with Venezuela. I will tell you, they're going to do better now than they ever did, than they've done ever at any point. And we're going to be making a lot of money for them and a lot of money for our country. We have a very good relationship with the leaders of Venezuela, and we're going to keep it that way.
What are your plans, Mr. President? What are your plans for Cuba, Mr. President?
Well, we're going to see what happens with Cuba. I don't know. Anybody interested in Cuba in this room? Not too many people. This is not a Cuba room, but that's all right. There are plenty of them around, especially in Miami. And Cuba will be failing pretty soon. Cuba is really a nation that's very close to failing. They got their money from Venezuela. They got the oil from Venezuela. They're not getting that anymore.
We were talking about the polls earlier. Clearly, your base is with you, strong and supportive. They're very
stronger than. By the way, our base. Our base is with us. I think they're the best poll numbers. The real poll numbers, I think we have the best poll numbers we've ever had. Think of it, if I would have run again, would anybody be happy? So we have the best poll numbers we've ever had. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
What?
No, I didn't hear that. Did you?
All right. President Trump working the room there in Urbandale, Iowa, shaking hands, taking a few questions from reporters, talking about the economy, energy, a little bit about Minnesota. And that's probably a preview of what you're going to hear when he takes the podium. And we'll see what he has to say when he gets to Clive, Iowa for that event. It is the official kickoff of the midterm elections. And we'll go from there. All right, back to the news of the day. Credit cards are a big responsibility. While most understand the transactions are credit and meant to be reserved for emergencies or big purchases such as a home, many fall into the trap of using their credit cards for everyday purchases. Tough place to be. Such things can make the balance climb higher and higher, unsurprisingly, but there are ways to get the balance on your statement back down. Joining me to discuss is a consumer finance advocate for Iconic Debt Relief, Melanie Pecor. Melanie, nice to see you back on the program. Well, glad to have you here. How many Americans are currently struggling with credit card debt today?
It's a very sad number, but conservatively, Steve, it's about 95 to 100 million adults, American adults, carrying balances from month to month.
Yeah, that's an incredible number. Yeah, an incredible number. And so why is it so hard? People run up their credit card bills. Do they not think ahead? Do they think, I can catch up? I'll just do more next month. I'll wait 6 months. What's the problem with paying off a credit card?
The biggest problem, and I think, most of us, especially at a younger age, can really relate to this, is you don't realize that compounding interest isn't the same as like your automobile interest. So it's almost like climbing out from underneath a hole while people are pouring dirt on you and rocks, because now all of a sudden there's unexpected costs because you're trying to pay off this extra money that you had to use the month before, but you don't actually have another way of creating that money to pay off that credit card. So they just keep hitting you left and right as you're climbing out of this hole.
Yeah. So a lot of people think, well, and maybe it'll be better this year because the big, beautiful bill. But tax returns, so I'm going to pay it off my tax return. This year's tax returns are going to be bigger for millions of Americans, but still, that's more being hope, and hope is not a plan, is it?
Well, right. And we all have great intentions when we, bring in these big checks, and let's hope these tax returns are great, right? But let's be realistic with ourselves, right? Because a lot of times we're using our credit cards for these unexpected costs or just regular living costs. So wouldn't it feel nice to either be able to hold on to that money so you're not reusing those credit cards again and building and building and building? Or most likely what happens is they've already taken those funds up by past due bills, or it's just straight up not actually enough to cover all of your debt. And then you're still stuck at ground zero because you put most of it towards your debt, but nothing into savings. So now what happens next month, right? It's really realistic thinking, and that's really what we're here to help you with.
All right, so what do you guys do differently? What is different that you can help people with right now? We got about 1 minute here. Tell them how to get it done, Melanie.
Okay, well, in short, Steve, at Iconic Debt Relief, we help you find the light at the end of the tunnel, where you're still going to keep money in the bank account and you're still going to pay off your bills and come out from under this unscathed and in a much better financial situation with hope. Okay, so just remember, you're not alone. It's not a personal failure to be in credit card debt. Millions of hardworking Americans are. Please reach out to us at either iconicdebtrelief.com or give us a call. Don't wait. Let's get it started today, and you will see that light at the end of the tunnel before you know it.
That's right, and you'll sleep tonight because the pressure will be off you. Thank you so much for being here, Melanie.
Thank you.
All right. Iconic Debt Relief, you can find them at iconicdebtrelief.com/RAV-TD, or you can give them a call, 833-408-3828. iconicdebtrelief.com/RAV-TV, or call 833-408-3828. After the break, what makes America wonderful? We'll be right back.
California wildfire ripping apart Los Angeles County.
This is ridiculous. This is death by 1,000 paper cuts by Democrat policies.
That is President Trump's motorcade.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Trump has returned triumphant.
We hope they come out tonight.
We prayed together and we cried for 4 years.
Such an amazing feeling.
Flight 5342 colliding with a Black Hawk helicopter. 67 lives lost.
Liberation Day was extraordinary.
We never charged anybody anything, but now we're going to charge.
I think it's a great day here at the White House.
They've sold out our country, and they don't care why they're here.
We're now averaging 2,000 deportations a day.
Finally, a president steps up and does a presidential thing.
The strikes were a spectacular success.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
I'm a J6er, and I spent 3 months in jail and about a year in prison.
I spent 4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been smeared and defamed by the media, persecuted by the government, and treated like terrorists.
In reality, J6ers are patriotic men and women, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers from all walks of life.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
And we need your help.
For just $10 or more, you're helping these patriots get mental, physical, and spiritual help.
Please scan the QR code or go to j6support.com to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for being a patriot. Thank you for standing in the gap.
Well, a new year means new financial goals, like making sure your savings are secure and diversified. Will this be the year you finally listen to me and talk to someone from Birch Gold Group? Honestly, they're great people. I appreciate their educational approach and their understanding of macroeconomics. There are forces pushing the dollar lower and gold higher, along with silver, too, which is why they believe every American should own physical gold and silver. So until January the 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold offering a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, just text America to 989898. Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you are still eligible for a rebate up to $10,000. Make right now the first time you buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy by January 30th. Time is running out. Text America to 989898. Claim your eligibility today. Again, text America to 989898. We're going to jump to the question of the day now. How do you think Tom Homan's presence will affect the anti-ICE protests in Minnesota? Brian Sharkey writes, when he meets with the mayor today, he should tell him cooperation or incarceration. Lisa Johnson, Trump sent in the hammer, man. Homer is a beast, honest to the core. There is no FAFO with him. This is just the next step. Remember, Trump is several moves ahead of everyone else. He has placed Homan there for a reason. Let it play out and bet things straighten out. We'll see. Doug Greer says, let's see how many show up. And Mike Orr, hopefully they back down or face the laws of our country. He will enforce them. Andy Mullen says zero effect. Well, Andy, I think you're wrong about that. We're going to see effect. Wayner Albert writes, just the next phase, and Mary Brown Hill has this. I trust President Trump. Mark Peterson shares, Lincoln needed a grant. Well, that's true. And Lisa Richard says, I hope that he is really protected. He should have Marine bodyguards and the Secret Service. Tom is a bulldog and a no-nonsense person. He's doing exactly what the United States elected our fantastic president, Donald Trump, to do. We'll leave it there for today. All right, big show today. The president on his way to that event in Clive, Iowa. We'll keep following it here on Real America's Voice. Tomorrow morning, join me at 6 a.m. to kick off your live broadcast and Real America's Voice. I'll be right here with the Steve Gruber Show. Always follow me on all the social media platforms. I look forward to hearing from you, and you can send me an email, stevegruber.com. Until we talk again.
California wildfire ripping apart Los Angeles County.
This is ridiculous. This is death by 1,000 paper cuts by Democrat policies.
That is President Trump's motorcade.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Trump has returned triumphant.
We hope they come out tonight.
We prayed together and we cried for 4 years. Such an amazing feeling.
Flight 5342 colliding with a Black Hawk helicopter. 67 lives lost.
Liberation Day was extraordinary.
We never charged anybody anything, but now we're going to charge.
I think it's a great day here at the White House.
They've sold out our country, and they don't care why they're here.
We're now averaging 2,000 deportations a day.
Finally, a president steps up and does the presidential thing.
The strikes were a spectacular success.
the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your